Hello, I'm Paul Briley, and you're listening to Off the Comma. On this podcast, we explore all facets of what it means to feel stuck in life. We talk with people just like us who have found themselves sitting on a comma and not knowing where to go next. We'll unpack the experience, where they felt stuck, what they experienced, and what they learned. My goal is to inspire you by seeing yourself in others and finding possibility for yourself. Let's get into this week's conversation. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Off the Comma. We just keep building our community here, and I'm slapping my knees. My producer's going to be upset with me because I'm making extra noise. We continue to build our community here, and I'm just so grateful for being able to do this work and contribute this work to my broader body of work, but also because these episodes aren't about me, they're about our guests, giving the opportunity for every one of our guests to be able to share a little of themselves and their experience and contribute to their own body of work. This week is no exception. I'm very excited for a couple of reasons. I know I say that every week. I get to, again, meet someone new for the first time. So Miriam and I haven't met before, so I'm going to be learning about her through her story today. And I'm not sure where or how it might show up, but she also is a professional organizer, which is something that's very near and dear to my heart. So whether we talk about it here today or off the mic, it's just something that I always love talking about. And we've already been kind of gossiping about it a little bit beforehand. I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to hand it over to you, Miriam. I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Start for us by telling us, how would you like to be known? How would you describe yourself as a human being? And then you can share anything else that's important for us to know.
Yeah. As a human, I am curious, kind, and impish.
Mm.
I'm always looking for the humor in a situation and will always point out either the obvious or the thing that people aren't getting. So,
Mm.
I was the know-it-all at school that got in trouble for correcting the teacher in third grade. Kind of. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, okay. So, and you and I were kind of gossiping about this a little bit before we started recording. I'm curious to see how these traits show up in your story today.
Yeah.
What else would you share with the listeners today to have them learn a little bit more about you? You know, the usual
Yeah.
thing, hobbies, interests, work, whatever is relevant for you.
Yeah. It's interesting. Recently I've been doing a lot of reflecting because a bunch of my friends are finally have their kids out of the house and they were wanting to hang out again and do things. And they're like, well, what have you been up to? And I'm like, working. Like, no, for fun. I'm like, oh, for me, that is fun because I
Mm.
am a total systems and creative process nerd. So when I'm in process, in flow with myself or my clients, it's actually really fun for me. So I
Mm.
don't think of it as not enjoying my work. I think of it as one aspect of me that gets to show up when I work.
I,
Um, yeah,
can I jump in for a moment?
of
I
course.
love that you shared that, and there's something here for me and
Hmm.
for the folks who are listening, right? Because you're
Hmm.
the third person in 2 weeks now that I've talked to or even interviewed for the podcast who has brought
Hmm.
this very same thing
Mm.
up, that the work that I do is so much a part of me that I actually enjoy doing it. And I
Hmm.
had one guest say, I can't think about work at night before bed because it energizes me.
Yeah. I'm not quite that bad, but I do dream about solutions for my clients.
Nice.
And it's part of my philosophy. Yeah, I can't. I don't have my glasses on. But back here, I have a little Venn diagram
Okay.
that is about how I think about my life, and it's work, spirit, and home. And where they all interconnect is where I get my joy, my sense of
Hmm.
possibility, and it's all about me.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And
So,
and and
yeah.
I kind of tipped it off, but say more than when you talk about your work,
Hmm.
specifically it is this professional organizing that you do, right? Or more
Yeah.
or
It's more than just professional organizing. So, I am a certified professional organizer, but I'm also a money breakthrough business coach.
hmm
So, I love helping people figure out that organizing, productivity, and money mindset are all connected,
hmm
and that if they're struggling in one of those areas, sometimes we just have to fix the other ones, and then that one stands itself back up. But
mm.
they work well together. Um, And when you understand them well, you can maintain your boundaries. So you're not only doing work and you still have other interests, but those other interests inform what you do and how you interact with people and how you spend your money. So it
Mm.
all plays out as life.
Hmm. Well, and it seems also, I'll self-reference for just a moment, right? And there's also some choices and trade-offs that we make in there, right? Like
Oh, of
I'm
course.
self-employed, I run my own business, I do
Hmm.
creative types of work. So, I have the luxury of being able to have an evening and so forth, and then sit in bed with the MacBook and do some more work or what have you. And I also recognize that that works really well for me because I'm single. If I if I had a relationship, I
Hmm.
probably would have to choose things a little differently or structure or organize a little differently, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm single too, and it makes all the difference.
Hmm.
I also have um, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so I have days where I don't feel great. And so
Mm.
the self-employment gives me that flexibility. Working from home gives me that flexibility.
Hmm.
Um, Structuring my days without too much in them,
Hmm. Hmm.
but having a giant list of interesting things I could do if I feel great, really helps. So I've, simplified my own systems and my own way of keeping house and business that allows me to really have that flexibility. So
Hmm.
sometimes I'll work Saturdays and Sundays, but then I take Thursdays off or
Yeah. Oh,
Mondays off or whatever. And it can be a little different every week, but there's still enough structure to keep it from going off the rails.
you're speaking my language, and you've already inspired me with that one little thing, right? That having a list of interesting things to
Hmm.
do if I decide I want to. And the thing I'm taking from that is like inserting the word if, because when I have that
Yeah.
list of things, then it becomes another compulsion and I
No,
have to do, right?
yeah, they're not obligations when it's an if. They
Mm-hmm.
are, for me, they come from that place of curiosity and possibility.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even in that nice to do someday maybe area, which, a lot of productivity people talk about having your maybe list or your
Mm-hmm.
someday list. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's these things will all get done on a day when I have the energy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Miriam, we're going to get into the 5 questions and your story here
Yeah.
in just a second. Before we do that, I ask every single guest, as you think ahead to the next 30, 35 minutes or so, sharing your story
Mhm.
with us, what would be your intention for yourself today?
Ooh, for myself,
Hmm.
um, I love practicing my story, and every time I talk with someone new about it, something new kind of surfaces, and so it's really interesting to see what's kind of prevailing today, so that I can then potentially weave it into something in the future.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my intention is to support you in that intention, hold a space here for you to be able to tell your story and for obviously others to be able to hear the story. And that there will be those out there who will see a little bit of themselves in you and your story. They'll feel a little bit more connected, maybe a little less alone. And in the best of cases, perhaps even feel inspired or empowered to go out and do something that they've been wanting to do.
Yeah.
Let's
Sounds
do it.
good.
Okay. Question one, Miriam. Where in your life have you found yourself sitting on a comma?
Yeah. So many, but I thought I would talk about kind of the most recent one. I mean, there's been some small commas.
Hmm.
But the bold one recently was a couple years ago. I guess it was kind of 2024. I found myself with almost no clients for quite a while, like longer than it had ever been,
Mm.
and not really understanding why. Like the phone just stopped ringing and
Mm.
people stopped being interested, even though I was still going out and doing all the networking and all the things I always did. It's just like crickets in my
Hmm.
world. And it was very weird. And I couldn't figure out what the universe was trying to tell me or what I was missing. And I spent months like seeking answers from other people. And nothing was changing. And I would try something that someone suggested. I'd take time off and not think about work. I would throw myself into work for a few weeks. I would do, I cleaned up all my own stuff in my house. I did all these things to kind of like just put some energy out there, but not having any clarity about what
Mm.
was happening. And then all of a sudden one day, it was like a switch flipped, and I went, oh, I'm supposed to be more of myself. And I
Mm.
needed to let go. I've always been pretty good at it, but at the same time, when things aren't working, I'm not a people pleaser, but I tend to go
Mm.
with the tried and true for other people because it's not working for me. Even,
Mm.
well, this didn't work for me. Maybe I need to do what worked for someone else. And so it was always like an experiment. I finally went, wait, I've been doing this for 25 years. There's no reason I shouldn't be super successful and have all kinds of money flowing in and have all kinds of time for fun in my life. And, like there's no reason I can't live a successful life.
Mm.
I'm creating it. So why do I keep looking for other people's answers? And I just took like a nap and then I got up and I went, okay, I'm creating my life from here forward. What am I taking with me and what am I leaving behind? And I kind of journaled on it for a couple days and then the phone rang
Okay.
and I have been booked solid since.
Can I jump in for a moment? So,
Yeah.
because I love this story, I love where this is going, and there's always a message for Paul in here.
Yeah.
Um, just to clarify, so I'm not making any assumptions. When you say that I'm supposed to be more of myself and doing things for me versus others, are you referring to the way that you were asking around and getting ideas from other people? What should I be doing during this kind of this comma period, this pause?
Yes. It was kind of more like, okay, you have the information now,
Mm,
run with it, not
hmm.
keep searching and doing the experiment, like actually put it out there.
Act
And
versus ask, sort of.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Yeah. So then I just started being me in everything I wrote and everything I put out there and my interactions. And some days I was grumpy and some days I was joyous.
Hmm.
And uh,
What?
I would find myself doing something that was, some program I had taken and being like, I hate this. Why am I doing it? And it'd be like,
Ah,
jettison it right out. And go,
okay.
wait, what would I do? How would I, left up to myself, how would I make this happen? What would I include? What would I color it?
That was going to be my question. I mean, it sounds like there's, obviously a lot going on there. And I really, want to acknowledge you for the moment that kind of like everything got quiet and then not knowing where it's going, right? That happens for so
Mm-hmm.
many folks,
Mm-hmm.
especially folks who are self-employed, solopreneurs, right? That had to have been a challenging period because then you're looking at kind of existential, income and
Yeah.
survival. So you were out kind of shopping for answers, so to speak, and ideas and
Mm-hmm.
solutions and so forth, and then it occurred to you, wait a minute, I have to do this my own way, or I have to do this for me.
Mm-hmm.
What was the most significant shift? Like, I have a bunch of questions here and I'm trying to just narrow it down to one. When you
Yeah.
started journaling and then you started to see things show up, what what shifted?
Okay. So there's a couple things. I love that metaphor of shopping. It was a lot like I was bringing the clothes home and trying them on and nothing really fit.
Hmm.
It was like, there's something wrong with this, but I can't put my finger on it. And we've hit on so many of the little subtleties of it. But there was a combination of feeling a little misunderstood, like people
Hmm.
weren't understanding what I was trying to say. And so a bit of clarity came, and that's when I started talking about that connection between productivity, organizing, and money mindset to
Mm.
live your best life. Like that's when that kind of clicked together. Instead of I'm a professional organizer, I'm going to throw a bunch of containers at your problem and make it look really nice, which we spoke about a little bit earlier. But it's deeper. It's really deep work, and that's where that feeling of loneliness and misunderstanding can come in when
Mm.
you're thinking about things slightly differently than other people and they're not quite getting it. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, well, it's kind of my responsibility to help them get it.
Mm.
It's not that they're being mean in misunderstanding, or rarely, there's still some mansplaining involved sometimes, but
Mm,
there's it's really that people just haven't been exposed to that.
hmm
And so many people spend this lifetime acting like they think other people want them to be instead of who they want to be.
Oof.
And so
Yeah.
modeling that behavior for others became really important to me as well. So if I'm going to call myself some sort of simplicity expert, I need to really simplify my life. I have to stop
Mm,
complicating it with all this busy work,
hmm
like tracking my social media likes and follows, like um, making pretty graphs and charts just for myself.
mm,
Like using a fancy electronic planner and project management system, like all these little things that have snuck into my life that were designed to help me run my business and my life better that just caused busy work.
mm.
I took it all away and rebuilt from the ground up pretty much. I mean, I still do social media, which is a whole other thing, but
Right. Yeah.
it's not my be all end all. It's like
Yeah.
the sprinkle on top. It is not the only thing I do.
Okay, so we're obviously we're on track. We're keep going
Yeah.
here, and I'm going to get to the other of the five questions, but I am going to advocate for others who are listening and really resonating with this right
Hmm.
now through the lens of me, selfish me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Of course.
um, what
Selfish is the ultimate self-care.
mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I use the term self-referencing because there's
Yeah.
no value statement, applied to that. But
Hmm.
what you're saying is really resonating for me today specifically, and I suspect probably many people who are listening, right? Because I am a doer. I like to accomplish things. I like to scratch things off the list, and I also like systems and
Hmm.
so forth that will help me organize and so forth.
Hmm.
And self-employed, like you and I have already, acknowledged and so forth. I too have all these systems that I've put in place. Now, this is really interesting. So I'd love to hear your
Hmm.
reaction and more so how it relates for you. All these systems in place to help me be more effective and so forth. And
Hmm.
they do. And they are, right? But
Hmm.
for example, for now 4 years since I became a vegetarian, I actually track the food that I eat in a calorie counting app, not
Hmm.
because of calories, but because of making sure that I'm getting the right mix of nutrition and so forth.
Right.
And I have a belief that if I don't track my food, then I'll eat twice as much food, right?
Mm.
Okay, so I stick to that because I feel like that helps me, right?
Yeah.
I keep a daily bullet point journal, not a thoughts and mindset journal, just a log
Hmm.
of activities because I sometimes write Substack posts about my
Hmm.
nomad travels and so forth.
Right.
Okay, these systems I do every single day, multiple times a day, checklisting. It's just a
Hmm.
great example. I haven't written my Substack posts in 2 months now because I resent it. I
Mm.
like I have these systems in place and every day I say, why am I still doing this? And then I convince myself why I am. And
Hmm.
then there's also this underlying belief that somehow if I stop doing that, then I'm going to, fall into bad habits or what have you. So your message is really resonating with me today, but
Hmm.
I don't want to make it about me. How did you like what did you do for yourself in terms of the mindset and everything that you've described to be able to let go of those systems that you put into place with good intention
Mm.
and probably served you?
Yeah, well, that's the experiment of it. You have to turn one off at a time. Well, there's a few that really I did with full resentment every day because someone told me it was what you had to do to be a business owner.
Oh, that one. Yes, that one right there.
Some of the
Hmm
measurements and things, like I get that data drives things, but when you run a very small micro business like I do, there's not enough data change to make daily tracking necessary. Like
And
it
for
doesn't,
who? And for
right.
who? You
Like
know
I'm
what
like,
you're doing when you do it,
oh,
right?
no one commented on my Facebook post today. Okay. What? What's the next thing there? There's nothing.
Hmm
So there's a bit of experiment. I let go, I do have a virtual assistant that once a month sends me a KPI report so we can make the bigger strategy decisions, but it's not a day-to-day tracking anymore. And she does it for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at my money every day because responsible for generating the money, and it gives me a chance to, adjust if needed or make an
Mm-hmm.
extra phone call because I need a new client, whatever. But there are some things that there's no purpose to them, but they are ritual and they help me be more productive because it gets me in the mood. So, like meditation or saying
Mm-hmm.
my affirmations every day, I have no proof that they actually work on a one-to-one basis of reciprocity, but
Mm-hmm.
they help keep me calm and my ADD brain from going off the rails, you know? So some things are ritualistic for support and structure. So I tend to think more in terms of ritual and frameworks
Yeah.
than specific checklists. Although,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, crossing things off a list with a Sharpie is so fun.
Sure. Well, and what I'm hearing you describe too is this thing that I tell myself and talk about with others, right? Is sometimes when a thing happens or you're feeling a certain way, you need a pain reliever, you take a Tylenol, and
Hmm.
that takes care of the situation. The
Hmm.
vitamins that you take every day, you don't necessarily know if you're working. It's about the cumulative and long-term effect. So
Correct.
there's the take action now, treat, and then there's the rituals that are proactive and contribute to my overall wellness.
And there's some, habits are what turn into rituals, and you can make it as ritualistic as you want. You don't have to
Hmm.
light a candle every time you brush your teeth, but it's still technically habit slash ritual. Um, those are the things that save our brain's energy. You know, it's
Hmm.
the neuroplasticity of not having to think through the checklist every time anymore because you have the muscle memory to back it up.
Hmm.
um, and keeps things running in the background. So things like marketing or sales calls or checking your money might be enough. But for someone else, they might need to actually check in with people every day or,
Hmm.
go to those meetings and write up those notes or do that report, whatever it is for them. Yeah, it's just a grand experiment, really.
Yeah.
And
And I
some
love.
things I let go of and I brought back in a simplified way
Hmm.
because letting go entirely was, I don't know. Every once in a while, I would let go of something and something would fall through the cracks. And it was like, oh, right. That's why I used to do that on Friday afternoons.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So you basically had a moment where you said, "Wait, I need to simplify and let go of some things that I have been holding on to but aren't necessarily serving me today. And I also need to put emphasis and focus back on these other things, which are really more aligned with where I want to go." So I
Yes.
heard you say, let go of some systems and habits and routines and started to focus not just on the work that I do, but also the money, or
Hmm.
rather the income and being able to assess where I stand with that. What
Hmm.
else? Because you, when you summarized for us at the beginning of your story, you
Hmm.
said, once I sat down and did some reflection on it and then made some of these
Hmm.
changes, then the phone rang, right?
Yeah.
What else was the biggest shift for you?
I let go a lot of being needy about needing a client.
Hmm.
And I really started listening for which kinds of clients I would like to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, one of the things that happened and opened up for me is I got a referral partner that I get a lot of referrals that aren't my ideal, but I feel slightly more obliged to take them on a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
often than I would like. But we're still in kind of the experiment of how that relationship is working out. So, like right now, I'm working with, I think, four clients that they referred, and one of them is not my ideal. The other three are
Mm.
great,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm still trying to figure that boundary out. But in general, it was like letting go of saying yes to people I didn't want to work with.
Right. Well, it also seems I might be inserting myself into this. So by all means, correct me. And anytime I reflect things, also
Hmm.
correct me if I'm off base. It also seems like how do I want to say this? I get so caught up in my story in my head. For many people, they feel like, well, no, I'm going to use me as an example. Often I might say yes to things because I feel like I don't have a choice or I'm really needy, like you said, right?
Mhm.
I say yes to projects because, oh, I really need that income or I really wanted to get a foot in the door with that particular client or what have you, right?
Mhm.
And I think what shifted for me about 2 or 3 years ago, it was 2 years ago, at the beginning of 2 years ago, when I set my goals for that year, which was also something I had not done before,
Mhm.
was setting goals and declaring outcomes to my coach. Is I said it's going to be a say yes year, but it wasn't going to be a
Mhm.
say yes year because I said yes to everything. I was going to say yes to the things that scared me. And
Mhm.
so, when some of my clients would approach and say, hey, in addition to these workshops that you teach, do you have a workshop on XYZ topic? And I would just wait for the manifesting generator to say yes
Mhm.
or no. And if the answer was yes, even if I had absolutely nothing, I was like, actually, yes, I can do that workshop. I don't currently have the materials because so much of what I created in my career is the intellectual property of my employers, past
Right.
employers, right? But I absolutely have
I'm
a strong,
outlining it now.
yeah, well, and that's what happened, right? Is I got this
Yeah.
request for one class and I was like, I've not ever really even taught that. But then it only took 2 seconds for me to realize, do you know how many damn conversations I've had about that? And do you know
Yeah.
how many strong points of view I have about that? And I'm an
Mhm.
instructor. I know how to research, write, and create and design and
Yep.
deliver, right? And so I said yes to it, and then I got excited. And to your point,
Mhm.
within literally 4.5 minutes, I had a course outline already sketched
Yeah.
out with bullet points and everything. Okay, I'm sorry, I rambled. I made it about me. What I'm hearing you say is there's a distinction between just saying yes because you don't feel like you can and making conscious yes choices. Because I would venture to
Yes.
guess, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that even in the clients that you say they're not my ideal clients, that you find meaning in that work and you know
Mhm.
exactly what trade-offs you're making to do that work and you're still doing it because at the end of the day you're okay with the yes that you said. Is that was very presumptuous of me?
No, but that's exactly right. It is a yes because I want to learn something or I'm trying to set something up and I need the opposite perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, I love working with older people that are downsizing and moving into assisted living. Like it's just really satisfying work. It's hard, but it's satisfying. Um, and I realized that my current or my now I have current packages that are for those people specifically, but my
Mm-hmm. What a
packages
great learning
before,
opportunity, right?
yeah, the way I was offering my services didn't translate well to that situation. So I needed to create a new offering around
Mm-hmm.
it. And so working with a couple different kinds of people that would come into that helped me narrow that message down and how I was going to approach that work that is still within the framework of my regular organizing work, but the time frames are all smushed together and
Mm-hmm.
the amount of interaction with the clients between sessions is a lot higher. So I
Okay.
needed to figure out how to structure that. So that
Yeah.
gave me, okay, what would the far boundary of where I'm willing to go be?
Hmm. Yeah. So, and I would imagine, right? Like, in what you're describing, you're talking about, well, everything from how you price it to how you allocate time to,
Hmm.
you had even shared a little bit before we started recording about, well, most clients, I can kind of control the cadence or the frequency, and now
Hmm.
I'm learning what it's like to have to respond and sometimes
Hmm.
react or be very flexible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We were mentioning just this morning, I had to switch my morning and my afternoon client because the time frame for when the Packers are showing up changed,
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
always know with enough time. So yeah, it also helps me figure out how to build in that flexibility,
Yeah.
which is a good lesson for life too, right?
Sure. Well, and it's all an experiment, like you said, right? You could very well, again, again, I'm just kind of making this up, right? You
Hmm.
could very well do this experiment for some, indeterminate period of time and then
Hmm.
say, no longer for me, right? You could do
Yeah,
this for some indeterminate period of time and say, actually, I have now perfected this to make it work for me. And then there's any number of possibilities in
in
between those
between.
two. Yeah.
Exactly. Which I think is probably happening. It's
Hmm.
looking like I'm gonna say yes, but just to work with one at a time. I don't think it's super feasible to be working with two or three at a time because of the
Oh, the
timeline
overlap.
shifts. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's going to be a sequential focus instead of a, sure, we can start tomorrow. I have tomorrow afternoon off, and then realize, but next week I don't.
Yeah. As somebody who does project work, I so appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
takeaway for me and hint hint for folks who are listening, you don't necessarily have to say no. It can still be a yes, and maybe you just don't have three yeses all stacked on top of each other.
Right. It could
Right.
be, yeah, we can get started in June.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yet then there's a whole other thing that you haven't talked about, we haven't talked about, is you could say yes to all three and then say, okay, who do I have on the bench who can actually take that one and take this one or help
Mm,
me with these pieces of it, right? So that's
yeah.
where I think I want to go with my business is I know I've hit a ceiling and I won't be
Hmm.
able to grow more unless I figure out how to incorporate a team. But that's for my coach, not for you. So
Yeah. No, I have that problem too.
mm,
I have made a conscious effort to not have a team.
mm-hmm.
Um, and still be super successful and sought after and all that. But it does affect my timelines. And
Yeah.
every once in a while, there is a timeline that needs an adjustment. And luckily, my ongoing long-term clients, we make a great um, effort to be understanding of each other's schedules,
Mm-hmm.
even though there is a structured time. And so they all know up front that every once in a while I have one of these projects that's going to interrupt us
Yeah.
for a couple weeks and
The
then it'll get back
relationship
on track.
really helps, right?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, I'm not fishing for
Hmm.
anything specific. You said I've made a conscious choice to not have a team. What
Hmm.
many of us have made the same choice. What's your reason?
Tracking and paperwork mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like right now, I do have a big project coming up in in June
Mm-hmm.
that I'm bringing on two of my fellow organizers in town as subcontractors.
Okay.
But already there's conflicts of schedule, and I asked them one question and they came up back with six other questions back for me, and it's like we're not
Yeah.
at that stage yet. You don't need to know, and that and the fact that for a couple of years I did try to bring on an assistant
Mm-hmm.
organizer, and I went through like five different people that were all excited and they wanted to be an organizer, and they, like you, found that it wasn't for them
Yeah.
within
Yeah.
like one session. They were
Well,
like, oh, this is what it is. No.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, to me, it seems to keep coming back to the emphasis and priority you've placed on simplifying, right?
Yes,
And then the choices that come with that, right? It
exactly.
is okay to say that doesn't align with my wanting to do it simply or to keep things simple and easy.
Hmm.
And it's okay if I might, I'm using myself as an example, I might say no to that opportunity and maybe that amount of money that could come in because the peace of mind or the
Hmm.
internal benefits outweigh the increased gain, right?
Right. I've also found when there's some of these bigger projects that are a little outside my wheelhouse, and even if I'm intrigued and I'll propose them or whatever, it doesn't work.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
never get those jobs because they're not for me. They're not
Yeah.
meant for me. And every time I've been nervous about one of those, it hasn't worked. And every time I did one and was really excited about it, it worked. So,
Hmm.
and the ones I get really excited about are the ones that are flexible enough to let me work in my way. They respect my expertise and my knowledge enough to go,
Hmm.
okay, if that's what you need to do to get that done. Yeah.
Nice alignment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Miriam, I feel like you've already started to answer this second question for us, but I'll ask it so you can add or expand. And obviously, if you need to go backwards in your story any further, you
Hmm.
certainly can. Question two is, as you look back on this comma that you were sitting on, what did it create
Hmm.
for you?
Peace of mind,
Hmm.
um, freedom, and alignment, actually. Yeah. Really deep alignment. And
Okay.
trust. I don't know. I trust the universe again. There was a period of time I
Hmm.
was really angry at it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say more about the anger? I mean, because
I was,
often in these
yeah.
episodes, we listen, and as humans, we're like, yeah, 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 I get it, and we nod, and
Hmm.
making assumptions. But what was that anger
Yeah.
for you specifically?
I'm doing all this stuff. I'm doing all the right things. I'm doing all this, and you're not hearing me. You're not listening to me.
Mm,
Again, going to the loneliness and the feeling misunderstood. It wasn't just from other people. It was kind of like I felt kind of abandoned, maybe, like just
mm,
and friction. There was just friction in every single day. You know,
mm. Yeah.
I'd spill something, I'd rip something, I'd drop something. I would, like the cat would throw up during my nap. It was like, oh my God.
I'm laughing because it's like I spill something, and then when I go to clean it up, I stand up and then bump the back of my head on the bottom of the open cabinet door, and I'm like, "What the
Exactly.
fuck, man?"
Right. It's like I just want to go back to bed and
Mm,
start this day over. And it would, those happen to everybody here and there. But when they're happening several times a week and you're just like,
mm,
I give up. You have to surrender. It's like
yeah,
I have to stop digging because this is not right. Like all these little
yeah.
signs are telling me I'm not on the right path. And then yeah, that's when it all
Well,
started to come
and
together.
I was gonna say, and that's exactly what you shared
Hmm.
with us, right? Is that
Yeah.
was the point that's like suddenly the universe got your attention, and you're like, I don't know what this means, but it means I need to slow down, stop, and listen, right?
Right. And, I don't know how woo woo the rest of the audience is, but
Usually very.
I get, I don't know how it works. I don't know where I draw my lines on the woo woo either. I'll be like fine with all kinds of crazy stuff. And then someone will mention one thing. I'm like, yeah, no,
Hmm,
I don't
hmm.
believe that. No. Um, but I do believe that when all that happened and I literally sat down crying one day and on my couch and was just like, I give up and I surrendered. And then I said, but it would be really helpful if you gave me clearer instruction. And
Mm,
ever since that, my intuitive hits are like, yes, no, today, wait, duh. Like everything is super clear. And it is
mm.
cracking me up every time it happens. I'm just like, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I love that. And I think
Yeah.
many people who are drawn to this podcast and listening, that is something that many of us hope for, look for, right? Like
Hmm.
there's times in our lives when I kind of like the surprise and the adventure and so forth, but there are
Yeah.
big parts of my life. I think this is very common for many of us where it's like clarity makes all the difference.
Hmm.
And sometimes getting the clarity is the goal, and sometimes getting okay with not having the clarity is the goal
Hmm.
too. So,
Yeah. And I find the universe has quite a sense of humor. When I said that, like the next day I saw like 87 different number signs. I can't even remember what number it was, but I'm like, I don't really understand the number signs. Like I'm seeing them, but I don't ever understand that. And then I started getting just like clarity,
mm-hmm.
imagery, like I don't know how people see their intuition. I see mine as words floating in the air, so it's weird, but
Yeah, okay.
like yes, no, wait, nah, nah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm for me,
Yeah.
it's very much a gut feeling. Like it's
Yeah.
and then of course, I did my human design. I've had guests on
Hmm.
the podcast who have talked
Yeah.
about human design and being coaches and so forth. But like the intuitive hit, and it's a yes no.
Hmm.
It's an immediate thing.
Hmm.
It's so yeah. I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. So anyway, I find it really funny because, the first thing they did was start showing me a bunch of numbers that I didn't understand. So
Mm. Well, then, well, wait a minute. So, what was the significance of that? Because you said, "Oh, the number signs, I didn't understand them," but it sounds like
no, I
you,
mean, I literally told the universe, I said, I'm seeing them, but I don't understand them. You have to be more
right.
clear for me. And
And
then I
then,
started getting the words.
gotcha, gotcha. Okay, now you've got me really curious about the number signs, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
just
'cause
never have.
I got, I don't go too deep into any of the things. I look for what adds value or
Yeah.
what is valuable for me to know
Yeah.
from all of them. But like 1111, and I don't even
Yeah. And
remember
the
it now. Something about
333 and the,
yeah, but the
all,
1111 shows up all the time, and then I'm like,
yeah.
well, is it just that somehow my brain has trained itself to always look to the clock because it knows 1111 is coming up? But
Yeah.
usually it's what's happening inside me at that time when I do notice it that is
that you got
usually
to pay
very
attention to.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And whether it's the 11:11 or not, for me personally, isn't the story. It's that I see it and it's an anchor and it's a
Right.
prompt. And then it's like, okay, check in with yourself, either,
Hmm.
yeah, you're having a wonderful moment and this is reinforcement, or you're kind of being a victim right now and this is a reminder that's the thing you want. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're just reminders, but it it was funny because,
Yeah.
they show up when I get the number signs when my brain is spinning a lot on a lot of different things. So then I'm like, which
Mm-hmm.
one are you answering?
Mm. Miriam, question three
Yeah.
is what have you learned about yourself as a result of sitting on this comma?
Patience has an endpoint.
Mm. Okay, say more.
I can only be patient for so long. And then I'm like, oh, make it stop. Please just make it,
Mm.
bring me the answer, show me the answer, whatever it is. Figure it out. Um, so that there's something with patience and trust with me. Like I've had it come up over and over and over. Like I'm not trusting, and then I'm shown that I need to have patience, and then it comes back. But yeah, I haven't quite figured that out. But also trust my own intuition and my own knowledge and curiosity to figure it out. It's all figure
Mm.
outable, as Marie Forleo would say.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you've used the word experiment numerous times, right?
Hmm.
So that seems to reinforce what you're saying is that like you can try anything, nothing has to be forever. There's
Hmm.
numerous pathways that any experiment could go.
Right.
There seems to be, like you said earlier, trust and freedom, but there seems to be, and tell me if I'm off here, like when you say experiment, that seems to say permission, it seems to say possibility, it seems to
Hmm.
say whatever happens, happens. It can all be fine.
Yeah. Um, I don't go so far as to say everything happens for a reason. I think
Mm,
everything happens and we create what we will out of it. It's more of a progression than a destiny.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it's invitations to figure out what's fulfilling for you, to find your own
Yeah.
satisfaction. Yeah.
I love that you said that because, I certainly respect the people who say everything happens for a reason. So many people in my life have said that. I've said it before, right? And then there's this place that I've landed, which aligns with what you've said, which is things happen and you can make different
Hmm.
kinds of meaning from it. You can create meaning. And that's not me being original. I've heard other people say this in different ways, right?
Yeah.
From it's not what happened to you, it's what you made it mean, to what meaning do you take from something? What meaning do you
Hmm.
create from something? And there then becomes the reason. Hmm.
Exactly.
Question four, Miriam, is I feel like you've kind of already answered this, but expand on this. What has changed for you as a result of sitting on that comma?
Well, I trust myself a lot more.
Mm,
Definitely. I have real clarity that it's time for me to use my voice to share these ideas and this concept of things are connected and we can make our lives a lot easier if we start approaching it from a different perspective.
hmm
Um, and I think that I'm just really reassured that everything is working out,
mm,
kind of for everybody. I mean, I know it's such a tumultuous time, but at the same time, I feel like this is a real big shift in consciousness,
hmm
maybe just societal norms, but there's a shift happening
Yeah.
that's been building for a while.
I had a guest say recently, she didn't say it on the podcast. It was in one of our off the mic conversations, but about things happening in the country right now, and she said something similar, right? Like
Hmm.
it's actually serving its purpose, it's doing its thing when you look at it in terms of the bigger outcome, the bigger takeaways and
Hmm.
so forth. So I really appreciate you saying that. And I want to ask you, like, when you say everything is working out, which resonates with me too, but what does that free you up from or to do
Mm.
when
Yeah.
you declare that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's very similar to what getting organized does for you. It frees your brain up from worrying. So you
Mm,
have more energy for creative things, whether that's creating a new system, whether that's making a quilt or painting a picture, whatever your style of creativity is. It just frees up that spinning brain that is so exhausting
mm,
and allows it to turn back into a problem-solving machine.
mm. In and of itself, right? Just the freedom from worry is such a huge like
Mhm.
lift, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so many things we can't actually control. So we might as well spend energy on the few things we can,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which
Yeah,
is our emotions, our environment, our people.
for
I mean,
sure.
we can't control our people. We can control which people
Right.
are in our arena.
Well, yeah. Focus on your community, not the world, right? We're
Yeah.
in a time where we have access to the entire world in our hands on our very expensive devices, right?
Yeah.
And yet we can't affect the
Hmm.
whole world. What we can affect is our community. And so, like you said, control what you can control, focus on those around you, and then trust that there's a ripple effect.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Question five, and then we're going to kind of
Hmm.
bring things to a close, is what does getting off the comma look like for you?
Oh, it's so exciting. It's full, it's brilliant, it's sparkly, it's full of possibility and joy.
Nice.
Um, yeah, it's been a real creative time actually. Yeah, it's good.
Nice. Well, and I also hear, like what you said really early on in the conversation, it's slowing down, reflecting, and really kind of checking in with your alignment into
Hmm.
what is uniquely you, like you said, right?
Yeah. Spend
Seeking my own answers and be more of myself.
yeah, and it's spending a lot more time in flow state. So it just feels good.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice. Well, you and I could talk for days, I
I
know,
think
and
so.
we were doing that before we got started. We'll chat a few more minutes after we stop recording, but as we bring things to a close here, two things. First of all, for people who do want to connect with you, learn more about you, see what you're up to, I'll put
Mhm,
all of your links in the show notes. Just kind of
mhm.
talk us through where are some of the places people could find you.
Yeah, the best place is my website, morethanorganized.net. It has all the links to everything else, but I think of that as my zone. So all the most important things are said there.
Hmm.
Um, I also have a YouTube channel, which is pretty darn good without enough viewers. So I'd appreciate
Mm,
that too. It's more than organized over on YouTube. And I'm getting ready to go deeper on Substack. It's not, as we're recording, it's not currently um, populated yet, but it will be
hmm.
within the next couple of weeks. So,
Okay,
yeah.
nice. All right. Well, last thing, and again, I'll have those links in the show notes. Encourage everybody to go check them out. There might even be a few more links in there too. And also, as we wrap things up, you being here today is all about hearing your story, giving people an opportunity to kind of learn from your experiences and take what they need, what resonates for them. But your story wouldn't be complete if we didn't give you an opportunity to lift up or give a voice to
Mhm.
others who matter to you. And so I call this section acknowledgments, and it's your opportunity to boost others who matter. That can be causes, organizations, it could be other
Mm.
creators, or people who matter to you in your sphere of influence. Who would you like to acknowledge today? And I'll be sure to reference them in the show notes.
Yeah. Well, everything I learned about running a business, basically, I got from Kendall Summerhawk and Danielle Laporte and
Mm,
Marie Forleo, as I mentioned, were the biggest influences in how I run my business. And they said it for years to be my own self and do it my way before I actually listened. So you can
mm,
shortcut it. I'll shortcut it for you. Do that. Um, And then there's West Core, which is the Women's Economic Self-Sustainability Team, which was founded by one of my mother's best friends here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And she was my original mentor for starting my own business in the first place. And I organized her closet way back in college. And she was like, you got to do this. And then I've been doing a lot of support with the Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women and Relatives Foundation. They've got a new documentary out that is just spectacular. And yeah, I've been paying a lot of attention to them.
I love that you shared that because this is something that, people who look like you and me don't learn about in school history and so forth. And it's such a big thing.
It
And it
is.
still happens today. And again, if people do more about what we do as a country, then I think things would be different. So
Yeah.
what or
Needs
what
way
one
more
one would
attention.
hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your acknowledgments and certainly your story with us today. And I'm very excited about some of the things I've taken from the story, and I know there were going to be plenty of people who are going to resonate so closely with some of the things that you've described. So, Miriam, thank you for being on the show this week, for sharing your story with us, and I'll look forward to following your adventures from here.
Thanks for letting me share. This was a really fun interview.
Yeah. Oh, too much fun. I'm sure we'll talk more off the mic. So have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will be talking to you again soon. What an honor it is for me to hear and share these powerful stories. I hope you feel the same way. Think about what you learned from this conversation. I encourage you to write it down in some form of journaling or reflection, because surprises can reveal themselves to you when you write your thoughts down. If you were moved by today's conversation, pass it along to someone you care about. And if you do discover something you'd like to unpack further, book a call with me and let's talk about it. My links are in the show notes. Be sure to like this episode and follow the podcast here on this platform and all social media at Off the Comma. Feel free to interact and comment. Thank you for listening to this episode of Off the Comma. As always, keep noticing and keep listening.